Hello everyone. It is a holiday here in the US, and so I have some time that I wanted to spend with my amazing audience here to provide them with some support as it relates to communication mistakes that people make oftentimes in their careers. So I'm going to actually be able to be live a bit longer than normal today. So if you have any questions, let me know. My whole purpose really today is just to be able to help you answer any questions that you may have as it relates to communicating. Sometimes when you're trying to advance in your career or potentially trying to advance in your business, you're not really sure what you should say, what you should not say, or perhaps you may be in a scenario where you are communicating in a specific way, but the way that you're communicating is actually preventing you from moving forward. So I want to be able to help identify some mistakes that I have seen people make over the years and help you to avoid making those communication mistakes in your career. So as people join, I will say hello, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with just a few things I've noticed over the years that have actually caused people to really struggle as it relates to advancing in their career when they are communicating. And one of the first I'd say mistake that I've seen people make and that I want you to avoid making is to tell too much about yourself. So oftentimes when you are in a professional setting, there are certain things you should say, and then there's certain things that you should not say. And I have a video here on my YouTube channel. It's actually a video series that talks about boundaries and how you go about setting boundaries. One of the aspects that I discussed in that video is that you have to determine what you feel like is appropriate for people to know and what is not appropriate for people to know. If it is something that is very personal, you want to be really careful about sharing that in a professional setting unless you have someone that you trust quite a bit and is someone that you have been very close with, that you feel like you can share some information to, then okay, it should be fine. But if it is just coworkers you're trying to establish rapport with, or people that you're not quite sure of, I've seen people make this mistake. And a lot of times when you have a new opportunity or new position, you might be wanting to say more about yourself just to establish rapport, and you don't need to necessarily do that. A lot of times when you do that, you share a bit of information that you probably shouldn't have shared with them, and then unfortunately sometimes people will use that against you as you are navigating through your career. So you want to avoid that specific mistake. Don't tell too much of your personal business in a professional setting. Just try not to do that. It's not the way to go. Definitely check out the boundaries video that I have on my YouTube channel. It is a series that specifically is talking about how to set boundaries. So it will definitely get you in a good place where you know exactly what you want to do. Now, the next, I would say, mistake that you should try to avoid when you are trying to elevate your career, trying to elevate your communication skills outside of not saying too much about yourself, is learning what to do when you are tested. Oftentimes, when you are being tested at a job, because it happens from time to time, you may come across a setting where there's a situation that comes up or a challenge that comes up, and it catches you off guard and you're not really quite sure how to respond. You haven't had the opportunity to really think through this response, and you may come across as being very, very emotional and very, very upset based off of what is actually being said. And so I see people make this mistake. Even leaders make this mistake over time, because we're people, we're humans at the end of the day, and there's times where you may have something that comes up that really, really bothers you, and sometimes it's a lot easier just to respond emotionally and maybe say something you didn't mean to say, or perhaps raise your voice or just act out of character instead of gaining composure and being very calm about how you address the situation. This is a mistake that people make a lot of times when they are trying to elevate in their career and advance in their career. So I want you not to make this specific mistake, because it can be very, very difficult for you to recover from making a mistake like that. So that is one mistake I would say try not to do, because it will hurt you in the future. So we went over two. I went over two mistakes with you so far. The first mistake is not to tell too much of your personal business as you are in a professional setting. The second mistake is to not really know how to control, I would say, your emotions when you have challenging scenarios come up. So I appreciate you all for joining. Welcome, welcome. And I wanted to go over a third mistake that people make oftentimes when they are trying to communicate in a workplace setting. So another communication issue and mistake I want you to avoid doing when you are in a communication setting is to avoid using your body gestures in a way that takes away from your confidence. So you might be wondering, well, what specifically does that mean? There's different gestures that people do all the time that really take away from your confidence, or they signal to other people that you are not as confident as you need to be. Some of those gestures may be in the form of looking around. You might look around quite a bit, or you may turn your head to one specific person, basically trying to see if they can give you an answer to the question. Or you may be fidgeting with a pen. You might be scratching your head. You may be, kind of rubbing your head like you're trying to figure out what the answer is. And so these type of gestures, when you do them, will be able to cause you some problems as it relates to building your confidence and showing your confidence. Now, if you need some help with this, or you want to get a deeper analysis into how you're communicating, what are some challenges that you're facing, then I have a couple of services that can actually help you with this. The first is a communication skills audit that will dive deep into how you specifically are communicating, and I'll link that description link the actual service link in the description. But it's a great way if you are a woman in leadership and you want to position yourself to where you really have those next level elite communication skills to do so. So it's an assessment where we work together one-on-one. I basically take a look at how you're speaking, your verbal, your nonverbal communication style, your executive presence, and etc. So that's in the description. And then I also have the Confidence Game Plan, which is a coaching program that really dives into confidence. It has 3 modules with it. The first module is to focus on building your confidence. So building unshakable confidence is the first module. The second module is public speaking basics, because you need to know how to speak to advance in your career. And then the final module is developing an unforgettable executive presence. So these are resources I have that can actually help you if you want to really elevate your communication skills and really advance to a next level in 2025. Now, I'll share with you one more mistake that people often do make as it relates to communicating in a professional setting that prevents them from being able to advance. And this last mistake is probably one of the bigger ones that people make often. And that mistake is to not communicate at all. And oftentimes when you're in a professional setting, sometimes you want to be in a scenario where you may feel like it's not appropriate for you to say something, but then oftentimes you may need to say something. And what I've seen happen is that when people don't speak or communicate the way that they need to, or even over communicate, that's fine, that they encounter a lot of problems. There's a lot of, I would say, just past hurt or past challenges that are building up. And then what happens is you have one day where someone just explodes, and you're wondering, why did you explode on me like that? Why didn't we talk about this before? Why didn't you mention this was an issue? And so that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake that people make, because what happens is whenever that moment comes when you actually explode and people get really upset, then what happens is it takes away from your executive presence. It takes away from people being able to work with you because you're not communicating. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you. If you have any questions as it relates to any of these communication mistakes, put them in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever experienced any of these mistakes. I know I have. I've made these mistakes over the years, and I want to make sure that you all are not making these mistakes either. So if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to sign up for some of the services I have as a woman in leadership that will really help you accelerate in your career. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.